God was driving, right? It could turn anything but white. I know, like you say, I can't say it because I ain't got the right clothes on. I'll say, well, would the church say amen? But the Presbyterian don't do too much of that, and Anglicans and all that don't do too much of that. So I just say, let the church be quiet. Because God going to show it again. We're talking about black people because God going to take the same family. We've done it with this black man. He's going to do it with his sister. Miriam going to give God some lick. Because Moses decided to marry one of his home girls. You know what's happening these days. We get that all the time. Most of our baseball players, football players, basketball players got problem marrying one of the home girls. But now Moses is going to be different than most of the brothers that made it, right? Moses is going to turn home to marry one of the home girls, a Harlem-born, Harlem-spun girl. And Miriam wanted to go down the street in the Italian neighborhood, in the French neighborhood to get him a little girl. And Moses said, no man, I'm going to get me the sweetest thing there is, a soul girl. And Miriam said, I don't like it. The Lord called Miriam and said, Lord, come. Miriam, come here. Who put you in charge? And Miriam says, well, nobody put me in charge, but I don't like it. And the Lord said, who give you the right to like anything that I'm doing? And the Lord said, I'm going to show you how powerful. The Lord was showing people how powerful he was messing with his people. The Lord turned her white as with leprosy. No, I didn't write this. No. If something is wrong with the story, then don't blame me. Blame the inspired men of God. Yeah, I'm just copying what they said. I'm repeating what they said. Brother Brownlee, Dr. Brownlee, you've been looking at it too. Don't look at me like that because I know you read the same thing. I got Dr. Clark here. I guess two Dr. brothers, they should be able to know if I'm misquoting the brothers of yonder years. But nobody said that I am. So then obviously, these two sisters are brothers, two brothers, Aaron and Moses, and his sister, and their sister, Miriam, all fall in line with looking like the Egyptians. Now let us go to Herodotus to see if someone else outside of theology equally saw the same thing the theologians saw. Herodotus, the first Greek historian, and once we even believe was the first historian period. Herodotus said in 450, even much later than the time of Moses, which is supposed to be around 1460, before the common era or before Christ. Moses supposedly lived just about when Akhenaten, Amenhotep IV, died, and Jochannan, his adopted son, took over the throne. That would be around the 18th dynasty. Herodotus said what? The records show, and by his eye, what he see. He is there now in 450 BC. And 450 BC, he's there around the time when the Persians are ruling Egypt. Egypt is now under siege, ruled by the Persians. You call the people Iranians today. And yet with the Iranian armies in there. And before the Iranian army, another army had come, another Asian army, the Syrian army. Assyria had been in there. They came there and pushed the Ethiopians out of Egypt. And even before the Assyrians, there was another group of invaders had come in there. They are called the Hyksos. All three of these groups from Asia, the Hyksos would come there in the 13th dynasty. In spite of the fact that you had these three foreign armies, and you know what happened when armies hit the land? The women are raped. And in spite of this period of time of foreign armies coming into Egypt, raping the women and doing other things, the dominance of the population was still African. Herodotus said, the Egyptians, the Colchians, the Ethiopians, and Nubians, and this is not exclusive, have thick lips, broad nose, woolly hair, and burnt of skin. That doesn't mean that all black people got thick lips, woolly hair. Some got and broad lips and so forth. Some people got the difference of that without even admixture with Europeans. But nevertheless, Herodotus gives us the stereotypical African that we are always talking about. And that was in 457 when he came. He left in 450. You know, we're talking before the Christian era, therefore the time reverses. And Herodotus gives us the same description of the people of Egypt. So since the Bible, whether it is the Hebrew Bible, the Christian Bible, or the Muslim Bible, they all back up the same presentation of these biblical characters. Therefore, was it not the experience of the Hebrews in Greeks? Because you must remember, when the Hebrew books were written, they weren't even written in Hebrew, the Hebrew language, no Aramaic. They were written instead in Greek, in the Greek language. And even the Greeks were quite specific about that place called Egypt and Ethiopia along the Nile, because we go back again to the Greeks. Homer, the first Greek writer, is to say in the book called the Odyssey, he says that even the gods Zeus and Apollo, adopted by Greece, came from Ethiopia. Now, it's possible that they could have been speaking about Ethiopia as we know the land today, as we know south of Sudan. More than likely, however, he may have been speaking about the entire northern part of Africa, because in those days, Ethiopia was the name the Greeks called the entire continent as much as they knew. They did not know anything below. But we must say that Herodotus was speaking of the Ethiopia we know today, because he said, having gone south and past Egypt, in the land of Nubia, he attempted to go up further at the headwaters of the Nile, meaning if he went up at the headwaters of the Blue Nile, he'd be smacked into Ethiopia. So obviously, he knew what he meant. It would be the Ethiopia as we know it today, rather than the whole continent. So when Herodotus made his statement then, a statement that had been validated by others, and before the Common Era, like Eusebius and others who made the chronological list for the so